Frank texted me and said, hey, can you talk at like 6:05? And he was like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. You'd have to leave the Times Union. This is when Frank had Gridiron Now going. So the initial job was to split time between writing college football for Gridiron Now and doing co-hosting the Frangie Show and covering the Jaguars for 1010XL. And so I was thrilled, really excited right out of the gate. I remember calling my dad. My dad absolutely loves Frank and has loved his show since the beginning. My dad told me, I don't care if this is a pay cut, you should take it. I said, well, I can't do that. I've got 2 kids, but I am very excited about it. And as it turned out, it ended up financially being a tremendous boost for me coming from the Florida Times Union. So it was a win-win all the way around. And it's been everything that I thought it would be. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and obviously that's the heart of college football. At least that's the way we see it. My dad was a huge Gator fan. My mom's parents, my mom went to Georgia, but didn't really care about football. Her side of the family were Gator fans also. So I got to go to my first Gator game in 1984. Had a blast, and college football was my sport from there. So I always grew up a huge, passionate college football fan. And that's sort of what got my interest in it. And then in terms of, other sports, collected baseball cards as a kid. So I was a huge baseball fan growing up, not so much now. Loved the NBA, would pull for the Atlanta Hawks because they were on TBS. I was a big Braves fan and Cubs fan because they were on TBS and WGN. And so just loved all sports growing up, got to go to the Players Championship when I was younger. And so loved golf from an early age, and just got to a point in college where I was sort of at a crossroads, didn't know really what I wanted to do. And finally I said, you know what, I can write okay, and I know a lot about sports. Maybe I can make something with sports writing happen, and was fortunate enough to get a part-time job at the Florida Times Union coming out of college. It was 30 hours per week. I did that for 1 year, and then got a full-time job at the St. Augustine Record, worked there for several years, and then that sort of got me going. That was primarily all high school sports. I did get to cover the Gators national championship game in Glendale, the victory over Ohio State. Obviously, we would do the Players Championship, and you'd cover a Jaguar game here and there, but high school sports were our bread and butter. And then that enabled me to go to the Times Union in a full-time capacity to be the prep editor about 2008. And I did that job for a few years. Then I got promoted to covering the Gators after ESPN hired Michael Duraco away. I covered the Gators for about 18 months, and then I got promoted to the Jaguars. I did that from 2013 to 2016. And then 1010XL recruited me over to join the Frangie Show. I remember the day Frank called me to talk about the job, and we met at a Panera Bread company a couple days later, and we worked everything out. And I was thrilled to join the Frangie Show, a show I'd listened to with my dad since the early 1990s. So, Frank's show is so conversational, and it's always, to me as a listener, felt like you're at a barbecue, hanging out with your friends. You're at a bar, hanging out with your buddies. And so I understood the vibe of the show, which I think helped, because I wouldn't have probably had an interest in getting into radio if it was to be, and this is probably going to sound ironic, I guess, because of how people somewhat view me as is on air. But I didn't want to join a show where it was like, okay, we need every segment, you got to slam somebody. That's not what I like the idea of. It's conversational. It's a very likable show. Working with Frank and Lauren and Gibby has been amazing. It's been the best work experience that I've had, and I've had some great ones. Working with Ryan O'Halloran covering the Jaguars was phenomenal. Working with Justin and Stewart in St. Augustine was unbelievable. So I've been very lucky, but this environment has been sensational. The biggest thing being on the Frangie Show and with 1010XL is you truly feel that, and look, at least in my opinion, but I think a lot of people would agree with me, you're the dominant brand in the market. That used to be the Times Union. It isn't anymore. And that's no fault of the writers that are there. It's just the economic times that we're in. But I would occasionally get recognized when I worked for the Times Union, but it was very rare, maybe a couple times a year. It happens all the time, and it's happened pretty quickly since I started in 2017. 1010XL just has such a powerful brand. It's reflected in our sales, in terms of how open and interested people are initially, because they know the show, they know the station. And I think when you look at the talent that we have here, it's incredible. The amount of talent that works here when you look at the overall talent that we have in this market. So it's the team you want to be on, and it's going to stay that way, I think, moving forward.